Hello, this is Professor Asma Parveen from Department of Psychology, Aligarh Muslim University. Today, I will discuss methods of data collection in qualitative research. Usually, three methods are used for data collection in qualitative research: unstructured interviews, observation, and secondary sources. And the first method, that is unstructured interviews, I have discussed in previous lecture, and today I will discuss about the second and third methods of data collection in data collection in qualitative research. And the second method is observation. Observation is a valuable method for gathering information in qualitative research. Unlike quantitative research, where observation follows a predetermined framework and the recording is categorical or on a scale, qualitative research allows for more flexibility and freedom in what and how you observe, as well as how you record and analyze the data. In qualitative research, there is no set framework for observation, and the recording is done in a descriptive and storytelling manner. This approach allows researchers to capture the richness and complexity of the observed phenomena. In addition to the different recording methods, qualitative research also offers the option to use both participant and non-participant observation methods to collect data. Participant observation involves the researcher immersing themselves in the setting being studied, actively participating and observing at the same time. This method allows for a deeper understanding of the social context and the experiences of the individuals involved. On the other hand, non-participant observation involves the researcher observing from a distance without actively participating. This method provides a more objective perspective and allows for the observation of behaviors that may be influenced by the presence of the researcher. Participant and non-participant observations are two commonly used methods in qualitative research. In participant method, the researcher actively becomes the part of the group or community being studied. They engage with the members, participate in activities, and observe their behavior as if they were a member themselves. This approach allows for a close relationship with the participants and a deeper understanding of how they naturally behave. However, gaining access to the group can be challenging, and the researcher must establish trust with the participants. On the other hand, non-participant observation involves observing participants without actively participating. The researcher remains separate from the activities being observed and focuses on comprehending the phenomena by observing in the community or social system study. This method can provide a more detailed understanding of situations that may not be easily captured through other methods. However, there are limitations to non-participant observation, such as the observer effect, where the presence of the researcher may influence the participants' actions, and the selectivity of observation, as researchers cannot capture everything. Regardless of whether participant or non-participant observation is used, regardless, regardless of whether participant or non-participant observation is used, observational research is valuable for studying behavior, generating hypotheses, and validating self-reports. Now I will separately discuss the advantages and disadvantages of participant observation. There are several advantages to using participant observation in qualitative research. Firstly, it allows the researcher to gain intimate and honest data by developing close relationships with the participants. This can lead to a better understanding of their behaviors, attitudes, and experiences. Additionally, participants may feel more relaxed and open when interacting with the researcher as opposed to being observed from afar. This can result in more authentic data. Furthermore, participant observation provides the opportunity for the researcher to spend a significant amount of time with the participants, allowing for a more in-depth understanding of their patterns and behaviors. However, there are also some disadvantages to consider. Participant observation can be time consuming, especially if the researcher needs to be physically present. This method also runs the risk of bias as the researcher becomes engrossed in the study and may interpret the data based on their own perspectives. Additionally, participants may alter their behavior if they can identify the researcher, leading to a lack of authenticity in the data. Furthermore, successfully conducting participant observation requires multitasking as the researchers must participate, observe, and take notes simultaneously. The advantages and disadvantages of non participant observation. Non participant observation is also a method for data collection in qualitative research, and it has both advantages and limitations. One of the advantages of this method is that it allows for more unbiased and dependable data to be collected. By observing from a distance, the researcher can avoid influencing the behavior of the participants, which can be a problem with participant observation. However, there is still the potential issue of the observer effect, where the mere presence of the researcher may still impact the actions of the participants. Additionally, observations can never capture everything, so the researcher must be selective in what they choose to focus on. Ethical concerns also arise, such as whether the researcher's voice should be prioritized over the voices of the participants. To effectively utilize non participant observation, the researcher should either live in or regularly visit the place or organization they are observing. They should take on a more separate and distinct role compared to participant observation. It is important for the researcher to build trust and develop empathy with the participants, but without becoming too emotionally involved. Detailed field notes are crucial for successful non participant observation as they allow for accurate and thorough documentation of the observed behaviors. Additionally, the use of audio and visual recorders or cameras can aid in gathering raw data. Recording of observation is a crucial aspect of research, and the method chosen depends on the purpose of the observation. In qualitative research, narrative and descriptive recording is commonly employed. This involves the researcher writing a detailed description of the interaction in their own words. They may take brief notes during the observation and then expand on them later. Some researchers even go as far as interpreting the interaction and drawing conclusions from it. While this method provides a deeper understanding of the interaction, there are drawbacks also. The observer's biases can influence their observations and interpretations, leading to biased conclusions. Additionally, since it relies on the researcher's perspective, the interpretations and conclusions are subjective. There is also a risk of missing important details if the researcher is more focused on observing than recording. Sometimes parts of the interaction may be overlooked or the recording may be incomplete. Another challenge arises when multiple observers are involved, as the comparability of narrative recordings can be problematic. It is common for most of the researchers to create a scale to rate different aspects. This scale serves as a tool for observers or researchers to record their observations in a structured manner. Depending on the specific focus of the study, the scale can have one, two, or three directions. For instance, if the goal is to analyze how individuals interact within a group, the scale might include three directions: positive, negative, and neutral. The use of a scale to record observations offers several advantages. Firstly, it saves time by eliminating the need for detailed note taking, allowing researchers to concentrate more on the actual observation process. However, there are limitations to using a scale also. And one drawback is that it does not provide specific and detailed information about the interaction being studied. Additionally, errors can occur when utilizing a scale as a measurement tool. Despite its drawbacks, the use of a scale can be an effective method for recording observations. By categorizing interactions into positive, negative, or neutral, researchers can gain a general understanding of the dynamics at play. However, it is important to recognize that this approach may not capture the intricacies and nuances of each individual interaction. Therefore, while a scale provides a useful framework for analysis, it should be supplemented with other methods to obtain a comprehensive understanding of the subject matter. To mitigate the limitations of using a scale, researchers can employ additional techniques such as taking detailed notes alongside the scale ratings. This allows for a more comprehensive record of the observed interactions, providing a richer context for analysis. Furthermore, researchers should be aware of potential errors that can arise when using a scale. These errors can stem from subjective interpretations, biases, or oversimplification of complex interactions. So, it is crucial to remain vigilant and critically evaluate the data collected through the scale to ensure accurate and reliable results. Some observers also often find it helpful to categorize what they see. So, they use categories for recording of the observations. The specific categories used can vary depending on the situation and the observer's preferred method of organization. These categories may include descriptors such as passive or active, introvert or extrovert, always, sometimes or never, or strongly agree, agree, uncertain, disagree, or strongly disagree. However, it is important to understand that using categories to record observations can present similar challenges as using scales. One challenge with using categories is that they can be limiting and may not fully capture the complexities of a situation. For instance, if someone is categorized as an introvert, it may overlook their occasional extroverted tendencies. Additionally, categories can be subjective and open to interpretation, leading to potential biases in the observations. Furthermore, individuals may struggle to fit their observations into predefined categories, resulting in over oversimplification or misrepresentation of the data. Another issue with using categories is that they can create a false sense of objectivity by assigning labels. By assigning labels to observations, there is a risk of overlooking the nuances and unique qualities of each individual or situation. This can lead to generalizations and stereotypes which may not accurately reflect the true nature of what is being observed. So, it is crucial to approach categorization with caution and recognize its limitations in capturing the full complexity of human behavior and experiences. Using video cameras or other electronic devices to record events can also be a valuable tool for gathering information. By recording what is happening, we have the opportunity to review the footage multiple times before drawing any conclusions. This allows us to ensure that our assessments are fair and accurate. Additionally, we can seek the opinions of other professionals by sharing the recording with them. However, it is important to acknowledge the potential drawbacks of using a camera. Some individuals may feel uncomfortable or alter their behavior when they know they are being recorded. As a result, the footage captured may not always provide an entirely accurate representation of the situation. When it comes to recording observations, there are several factors to consider. So, the method you choose for recording of the observation will depend on the purpose of your observation, the complexity of the situation, and the individuals involved all play an important role in determining the most effective approach for recording of the observation. Before embarking on any observation, it is crucial to reflect on why you are observing in the first place. Are you trying to gather data for scientific study or simply observing for personal interest? Understanding your purpose will help you to choose your recording method. Additionally, considering the complexity of the situation is also important. Some observations may require more detailed notes or even the use of technology, while others may be simpler and can be recorded with basic pen and paper. Equally important is the consideration of the people you are observing. Different individuals may have different preferences or sensitivities when it comes to being observed. Respecting their privacy and comfort levels is essential. For example, if you are observing a group of children, it may be necessary to obtain consent from their parents or guardians before proceeding. Once you have taken these factors into account, you can make an informed decision on how to record your observations. This could involve using a notebook, taking photographs or videos, or even utilizing specialized software or equipment. The key is to choose a method that allows you to accurately capture the details you need while also being practical and convenient for you. Now we'll discuss secondary sources for collecting data in qualitative research. So when we are doing a qualitative research, there are various sources that can also provide valuable data, and these sources are considered as secondary sources. The process of extracting, analyzing and communicating this information may differ from quantitative research methods, and one approach is to collect data from. Now I will discuss secondary sources for data collection. When conducting qualitative research, there are various sources that can provide valuable data. The process of extracting, analyzing, and communicating this information may differ from quantitative research methods, and one approach is to collect data from secondary sources, where the information has already been gathered by someone else or as part of routine record keeping by an organization. In such cases, researchers would need to extract the relevant data for their study. Secondary sources can include government or quasi-government publications which regularly collect data in different areas and make it available to the public. Examples of these publications include the census, vital statistics registration, labor force surveys, health reports, economic forecast, and demographic information. These sources offer a wealth of data that can be utilized for qualitative research purposes. By utilizing secondary sources, researchers by, util- by utilizing secondary sources, researchers can access a wide range of information without having to conduct primary data collection themselves. This can save time and resources while still providing valuable insights for their study. However, it is important for researchers to carefully evaluate the quality and reliability of the data obtained from these secondary sources to ensure its suitability for their research objectives. There are several sources researchers can utilize to gather information. One option is to examine previous research studies conducted by others. These studies offer valuable insights and data on specific topics that can contribute to the understanding of the research. Another source of information is personal records such as diaries or historical documents. These records may contain unique and first hand accounts that can provide a deeper understanding of the subject matter. Additionally, mass media outlets like newspapers, magazines, and the internet can also serve as excellent sources of data. Reports published in these mediums can offer additional information and perspectives for the research. So, by utilizing a combination of these sources, researchers can ensure a comprehensive and well rounded approach to the research study. Research studies, whether qualitative or quantitative or mixed methods, can all benefit from the use of secondary sources to collect data. Qualitative research focuses on gathering descriptive and narrative information such as historical accounts, situational descriptions, stories about beliefs and superstitions, or details about a specific location. On the other hand, qualitative studies typically collect information in numerical or categorical form. Mixed methods approaches vary depending on the specific methods being used. Regardless of the type of research, it is crucial to determine what information is needed, where it can be found, and how to extract it when utilizing secondary sources. One helpful strategy is to create a form that records the necessary information in a format that suits your needs. Secondary sources are particularly valuable in qualitative research, where researchers seek to understand the complexities of human experiences and behaviors. So, by gathering descriptive and narrative information from secondary sources, such as historical accounts or stories about beliefs and superstitions, researchers can gain a deeper understanding of the subject matter. Similarly, in quantitative studies, secondary sources can provide numerical or categorical data that can be analyzed to draw meaningful conclusions. For example, if a researcher is studying the impact of a specific event on a population, they may utilize secondary sources to gather statistical data related to the effects of the event. In mixed methods research, the use of secondary sources depends on the specific methods being employed. For example, if a researcher is conducting a study that combines surveys and interviews, they may use secondary sources to gather background information before designing their survey questions or interview protocols. This additional context can enhance the overall understanding of the research topic and inform the development of effective research instruments. When using secondary sources, it is essential to have a clear plan for locating and extracting the necessary information. This involves identifying reliable sources such as academic journals, books, or reputable websites and determining the most relevant sections or chapters to focus on. Additionally, creating a form or template to record the extracted information can help organize and streamline the data collection process. By customizing the form to suit their specific needs, researchers can ensure that they capture all the relevant details and avoid overlooking important information. But secondary sources are also responsible for certain problems. So, when you are using data from secondary sources, it is important to approach with caution due to potential problems with availability, format, and quality. These issues can vary depending on the source, so it is important to consider several factors when utilizing secondary source of data. When it comes to gathering information, it is crucial to be mindful of the sources we use. Not all sources are created equal, and some are more reliable and accurate than others. For instance, information collected from a census is likely to be more valid and trustworthy compared to information found in personal diaries. This is because personal diaries may be influenced by the writer's own opinions and biases, making them less objective and rigorous than research reports. Another important factor to consider is personal bias. When people write in personal diaries, newspapers, or magazines, they may have their own perspectives and biases that can impact the information they provide. This means that the information may not be as unbiased or thorough as what you would find in research reports. So it is essential to critically evaluate the sources. So it is essential to critically evaluate the sources you use and take into account any potential biases that may exist. Additionally, the availability of data is something that needs to be taken into consideration. Researchers sometimes assume that the data they need will be readily accessible, but this is not always the case. It is crucial to ensure that the required data is actually available before proceeding with the study. Without access to the necessary data, the research may be incomplete or inaccurate. Moreover, the format of the data is also an important aspect to think about. If you plan to use data from secondary sources, it is important to ensure that the data is presented in the format you need. For example, if you want to analyze age in specific categories like 23 to 33 and 34 to 48, but the secondary source only categorizes age as 21 to 24 and 25 to 29, it may not be suitable for your study. So, the format of the data can greatly impact the conclusions and findings of a study, so it is crucial to carefully consider this aspect. Now, I will discuss the prerequisites or essential aspects for data collection. To effectively gather information from individuals, it is crucial to ensure their motivation to share. This can be achieved by clearly and simply explaining the importance of the study and its goal. Motivation can be established through interviews or a letter accompanying the questionnaire. Additionally, incorporating interactive statements within the questionnaire can also help maintain engagement. By prioritizing motivation, researchers can enhance the quality and quantity of information obtained. Creating a comfortable and trusting environment is also essential when conducting interviews. Establishing rapport with the interviewee is key to encourage open and honest communication. So, researchers should strive to be friendly, respectful, and attentive throughout the interview process. By actively listening and displaying genuine interest in the interviewee's responses, a positive relationship can be fostered, leading to more meaningful and insightful information. Questionnaires are also a common method for gathering data, but it is important to design them carefully. The question should be clear, concise, and easy to understand. Avoid using jargons or technical terms that may confuse respondents. So it is also helpful to provide clear instructions. It is also helpful to provide clear instructions on how to complete the questionnaire and any necessary definitions for unfamiliar terms. By ensuring the clarity and simplicity of the questionnaire, researchers can obtain accurate and relevant data. So, before conducting any research or collecting data, it is important to ensure that the individuals being surveyed fully comprehend the questions being asked. If there is a lack of understanding, their responses may be inaccurate or nonsensical. Their responses may be inaccurate or inappropriate. Moreover, it is essential for researchers to possess the necessary information pertaining to the inquiries made by the participants. This becomes particularly significant when soliciting factual or technical details. Without access to the required information, individuals will be unable to provide accurate responses. To guarantee reliable and valid results, it is also important to use clear and concise language in survey questions. Ambiguous or vague wording can lead to confusion and inconsistent responses, so it is also important to avoid leading or biased questions as they can influence participants' answers. So, by using neutral and unbiased language, researchers can obtain more accurate and unbiased data. Another important factor that researchers must also consider is the target population and tailor the questions accordingly. Different demographic groups may have varying levels of knowledge or experiences, which can affect their ability to answer certain questions. Researchers should take into account factors such as age, education level, and cultural background to ensure that the questions are appropriate and understandable for all participants. So, by doing all these things, the survey will yield more accurate and meaningful results. This is all for today. Thank you.